everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with another lovely news video. Adam Pacitti has provided a news video earlier on today where he goes over, among other things, all of the moves in the big WWE draft that's been going on. Some people have moved from Raw to SmackDown, some have moved from SmackDown to Raw, some have stayed in place, and some remain undrafted. Now, after that news video, WWE did a bit of a late night sort of post-Raw supplementary few draft announcements on Twitter. So we're going to go over those in this news video as well, and some other stories too. So without any further ado, let's take a look at those headlines. First of all, NXT champion Finn Balor has undergone surgery for his recent injury. Next up, we may have seen a hint for future plans for WWE champion Drew McIntyre. And finally, as I mentioned in the introduction, WWE have announced extra draft picks after last night's Raw. First up, yes, NXT champion Finn Balor has undergone surgery for injuries sustained during the main event of NXT TakeOver 31. In his match against Kyle O'Reilly, of course, Balor suffered a broken jaw, apparently in 2 places. It sounds very nasty indeed. There were reports that the match was cut short. It seemed to end a little bit abruptly, but on the whole, it was a wonderful match, and thankfully, Balor was able to complete the match and then, you know, celebrate and everything, despite obviously seeming in some discomfort. And well, it appears to be good news for Balor because he recently revealed, uploading a picture to Twitter, that he has undergone surgery for this broken jaw, saying, recovering from a successful surgery, and then he shouted out the medical team and included a photograph of himself doing the thumbs up and the 2 sweet in his hospital bed. Hopefully Balor's recovery continues to be as swift and complete as possible. So it's looking alright, it's looking good for Balor at the moment, great news to hear. But we don't know how long he's going to be out for, so what could this mean for the NXT Championship? I remember in the reports leading up to this announcement by Balor that his surgery was successful, that people were saying the estimated time out for a broken jaw is around about 6 weeks. I don't know whether the type of surgery he had would just be necessary for this 6-week time period, or whether it would speed it up or maybe slow it down. I don't really know how the surgery impacts that. However, what I will say is that 6 weeks seems like a manageable amount of time for the NXT brand. Because obviously NXT have had quite a bad run of form, quite horrendous luck recently with injuries. Obviously they made Karrion Kross, for example, the NXT champion, defeating Keith Lee, and then he was injured during that match and had to vacate the belt immediately, like the next week. Also Ridge Holland as well, who appeared after the match we're talking about, Balor versus O'Reilly. He appeared there to seemingly kickstart a feud with the Undisputed Era, only to become injured the very next week as well. So yeah, NXT haven't had great luck on the injury front, especially in terms of big main event level angles as well. And this injury to their champion seemed to just be the icing on the cake. But given the nature of his injury, hopefully, and the fact that his surgery was successful, as has been reported today, hopefully Balor can get back to action. They won't have to vacate the title or anything. They can just kind of tide those 6 weeks or so over until he's able to compete again. And I think, hopefully, it should all be fine. They won't have to vacate that NXT title once more. Because remember, Balor was the man who won the vacated title that Karrion Kross had to vacate. So it's not been the best of days for NXT on that front, but hopefully everyone involved is going to make a quick recovery, and it certainly seems like Balor is on the road to doing so. Next up, Wade Barrett's obviously made his return to WWE recently, doing commentary on the NXT brand, and he remains a very popular figure among WWE fans, even though he's not wrestling anymore. He's very, very good at, in my opinion, at his colour commentary job, and I think also he just comes across as quite a likeable dude. Maybe that's because I'm British like he is, but I don't know, I just think he seems quite genuine when he's on commentary. But in very interesting news, Barrett's been doing a bit of a press run recently and has been hinting at potentially a match with WWE champion Drew McIntyre in the future. There's 2 different sources to cite here. So first of all, Barrett was speaking to Digital Spy, who asked him about the potential of coming out of retirement, and Barrett said, "The only thing I didn't achieve in WWE that I always wanted to achieve was to become WWE champion, and that title is now held by an old friend of mine. I can just imagine him saying it, Drew McIntyre. So taking him on for that title is something that certainly might tempt me back for a match or 2. The 2 do have a long history together. They were tag team champions in FCW. They are friends outside of the ring. I think it would be very interesting. Of course, we've seen Drew take on an old figure from his past in the form of Heath Slater, for example. So maybe this would be another case of you know, a historic feud not historic in that sense, but a feud of a figure from his past for Drew McIntyre. But then Barrett escalated things a little bit as well. So not only was he speaking to Digital Spy, but he was also speaking to BT Sport, where he just ramped up the trash talk on Drew McIntyre, saying, the truth is, he knows I can batter and humiliate him. Whenever I feel like I'm ready, it isn't a question of Drew McIntyre calling me out. Whenever I'm ready, I can just step in the ring and take whatever I want from him. He knows that, he's aware of it, and one day, perhaps, the world might see it. And I don't think I'm making this up, unless I dreamt it last night, but I'm pretty sure that Barrett also said that he used to beat up Drew outside of the ring and pour beans on him. So I'm pretty sure he said that as well. It wasn't included in that quote, which makes me think I may have dreamt it. But no, I'm pretty sure Barrett said I used to pour baked beans on his head. The more I say it now, the more it sounds like total nonsense. But Drew did not take all of this lying down, replying on Twitter saying, stay behind your desk, Grandpa. Your stand-in has a better chance than you do. Oh, it's kicking off. I feel like this could happen. I don't know, there's two potential different things going on here. So firstly, it's a real thing, and WWE have told Barrett to go out there, do interviews and mention this rivalry with Drew and hype it up, and it'll lead to a future match between the pair. That to me seems like option one. Option two is that Barrett just would like to have a match with his pal. I don't think he really would expect to take the WWE title from him, but he'd like to have a match with him maybe, and has decided if I start sowing the seeds, maybe something will come of it. We see wrestlers do that, of course, on social media all the time, but it has a lot more impact here if this is what Barrett's doing, because obviously we haven't seen him wrestle for quite some time, and because, as I mentioned earlier, he's such a popular figure still. So I don't know which one it is, but I will say, regardless of whether it's a thing planned by WWE or just something that Barrett's trying to have a bit of fun with and maybe turn into reality, regardless of which one it is, I really want to see it happen. And I want to see it in the UK, and I want them to do SummerSlam in London. But obviously, well, I want it preferably in Newcastle, to be fair. Obviously, that can't really happen right now, given the state of the world. But let a boy dream, okay? Next up, let's talk about some extra draft picks that were made after Raw. As I mentioned in the intro of this video, Adam did a whole news video on all of the draft picks with like a big summary of what happened. But obviously after that, in the wee hours of this morning, UK time at least, WWE cheekily announced a few extra draft picks as well. So we're just going to wrap those up now and talk about them. So 3 superstars have been announced as heading over to SmackDown. They are Billie Kay, obviously separating her from her ex-tag team partner Peyton Royce, Tamina, which I believe separates her from her ex-tag team partner Nia Jax, actually. I think Nia and Shayna are still on Raw. And Zelina Vega as well have all signed for SmackDown, while Eric of the Viking Raiders is remaining on Monday Night Raw. It's not, I mean, obviously there's no blockbusting names announced here or anything, is there? But it is a bit interesting. What I think is perhaps even more interesting is a couple of very prominent names still left on the free agents list, still undrafted, like Heath Slater. God, he got another mention in this news video. So there are 2 big names left undrafted, left on free agency, and they are Andrade, which is a pretty big one, I think, and I'm surprised, to be honest, that he hasn't been named yet. Hopefully there's something coming in his future. And Mickie James as well, who shared her feelings about this on Twitter. In fact, this was a few days ago when she'd still got undrafted. I don't think she could possibly imagine that she'd still be undrafted by Tuesday, but on October 10th, she tweeted, a little WWE free agent fun fact for you. Mickie James has more career and title wins than Humberto Carrillo, Murphy, Drew Gulak, Tucker, Lucha House Party, and Shorty G combined. Enjoy your day. Hashtag no offense, fellas. Hashtag you seem like nice folks. Hashtag just a fact. Hashtag I'm a free agent. Hashtag free agent Mickie. I think I understand the point she's making there. It was subtle, but you can kind of catch it. So yeah, Mickie James and Andrade still free agents. I mean, knowing WWE and the way they go about things, there's every chance that Mickie James was planned to be drafted, and then because of that tweet, they thought, no, we're going to leave her undrafted for now. I don't know, that's pure speculation on my behalf. But Andrade as well, very surprising indeed. He was such a promising up-and-comer for a long time, and then, you know, it all just kind of fizzled. I mean, when he was NXT champion, he was brilliant. I don't know what's going on. We will, of course, keep an eye on any potential extra future drafts that are announced or extra moves that are announced in the coming days. But that might be it for the draft. I don't know. Surely it's not. Surely Andrade is not just going to go undrafted, right? Next up, let's go to Wrestling Observer Live, where Brian Alvarez was talking about WWE and the Thunderdome. When will they leave the Thunderdome? Are they extending their contract with the Thunderdome venue? And what's basically going on there? So Alvarez said on Wrestling Observer Live, "I've been told that this is probably going until at least January. For the original agreement, no fans were allowed in. Maybe they've adjusted the agreement and fans can slowly be put into the business like they were doing with the Performance Center, but they are in the Thunderdome for a while." Alvarez did then point out that he's been told this, but it's currently unofficial because WWE's public line is that they are in the Thunderdome through November, but they haven't said anything about any point beyond that. But, you know, he's raised there the possibility of the Thunderdome allowing fans in. Then I wonder what would happen. I guess we'd see a similar setup to how the Performance Center looked for NXT TakeOver 31, with a mixture of screens and fans and maybe some wrestlers in the front few rows as well. It's kind of what AEW have been doing, but without the screens. Obviously, they've had the talent at the sides of the ring, and then up in the bleachers in Jacksonville, they've had, obviously, fans socially distanced. And I imagine WWE would be following the same sort of blueprint. But I don't know, of course, this is only unofficial, a word that Alvarez has been given. Everything can, of course, change, especially not just in terms of this specific deal between WWE and the venue, but in fact, just with the world, guidelines could change, rules could change, things could be shut down, things could open up, anything could change, which is possibly why WWE are on these seemingly short-term deals with the venue itself. But anyway, that seems to be the Thunderdome update. Are you getting used to it? Because I don't know if I am or not. I think I am, which is sad. Right, this is going to sound so stupid. I'm kind of missing those first few SmackDown and Raws where there was just no crowd at all, and you had Triple H and Mojo being silly on commentary. That was that was so long ago, man. That was so long ago, and we've been locked down ever since. And finally, Fightful are reporting that a big play, that's their words, not mine, because they are American and can get away with saying stuff like that. They're making a big play for a prominent star of, well, I say the independent scene, a prominent star of the independent scene, and recently AEW as well. Ooh. So apparently WWE are interested in a man known as Ben Carter. If you watch Dark, AEW Dark that is, you'll certainly be familiar with Ben Carter. If you watched AEW Late Night Dynamite, that special they did to run just after a game of the NBA playoffs, and shout out to LeBron, by the way, 4 times, get in, mate. Then you'll know that Ben Carter is a very flippy guy, very nimble, athletic, and very exciting. He's got loads of potential. He had a match with, I think it was Scorpio Sky, and he lost the match, but he came across very promising in that match on that special 1-hour edition of Late Night Dynamite. Apparently WWE are interested in Carter, but they'd be interested in having him on the NXT UK brand. He is, of course, from the UK. I think he's from Jersey, but he is from the UK, and I think that might be why they want to move him there. In fact, Fightful had some other details about why potentially that would be the destination for Ben Carter. So according to Fightful, Carter is having issues in the United States due to his residency status, which means that his recent matches for AEW have been unpaid, which apparently he is fine with. I assume it's to do with getting some kind of work visa, well, I mean, it's to do with his residency status, but I assume it's tied in with that sort of thing. Maybe it would be illegal for him to do paid work under current circumstances, I suppose. But then obviously signing with NXT UK would mean that it'd be in the UK, and that would make things a lot easier, presumably. So that is who WWE are reportedly interested in. Very intriguing. It's going to be, well, I suppose it's going to be a decision for Ben Carter, if it's true, based on his life situation as much as where he wants his career to go, because you could argue that if everything was fine for him and he could sign wherever he wanted, then he should stick with AEW for bigger exposure than probably NXT UK would give him. On the other hand, you want to do what's going to give an easier life for yourself, don't you? So maybe he would end up going to NXT UK. I don't know, but it's good to see eyes on him because he's very exciting. And that is it for this news video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you soon.